Okay. Welcome everybody. Everybody, welcome to Office Hour 26 of Unit 1. My name is Nicholas. I'm a data scientist for the Data Incubator, and we're partnering with World Quant University to bring you this course in data science. excuse, excuse me. How is everybody doing? Now, this is just a reminder, this is for Unit 1. Unit 1. So if you're in DS, you're in the right place. If you're in ML or Unit 2, you're in the wrong place. Well, I mean, it's not wrong. You're more than welcome to stay, but maybe you will be a little not as interested. Okay, so I see that there are a whole bunch of folks here. Innocent is here, Grace is here, Mohammed is here, Tutu's here, Musfira, Arthur, and Syed is also here. Well, I hope all of you are doing well. Oh, wow, look at all these folks. Wonderful. Okay, so how is everybody doing today? Is everyone ready to learn some data science? Let me pull up the chat window here. Trishale is here. Wonderful. Great. Otieno is here, or Eric. Navdeep is also here. Good to see you all. Okay, well, what are some of the things that you guys would like to look at today? If we're looking at what we looked at yesterday, if we're looking at what we looked at yesterday, we were we already looked at custom transformers, and then we also looked at statistics, and we can also do web scraping if you guys are interested. And I believe Mauro was here yesterday, and he wanted to look specifically at dynamic web scraping for dynamic sites. Dynamic IPs, that's right. Good. Is there anything else that people would like to learn today besides dynamic IPs? Grace wants me to talk about GeoPandas. I have to say that GeoPandas, I don't really know a lot about GeoPandas, so I don't think I'm the best person to ask. But I'm happy to do other things. Okay. Shrisiel has a great question. How do I open a text file that's currently on my desktop? We can definitely look at that. Okay, so uploading and downloading files. What else would you guys like to see? I think that Mongo databases are more of a Unit 2 topic. And let's see here. So Ife de Lapo, excuse my pronunciation, is saying that they're having a problem with the grader for question 5. Uh, have you posted your question to the forum? My advice would be post it to the forum. I think that's a more appropriate place to discuss it. And then Navdeep has a question, which is where can they access all the previous office hour recordings? Let me show you guys. So you go to the video links. Crud. There we go. So you go to the video links tab on your landing page, and I'll make the text a little bit smaller just so you can see it all. And interspersed with the teaching videos, you're going to see the office hours, 1 through, now we're at 26, and each of them will have a link, and that'll take you right to the YouTube video for that office hour. Now, if I scroll all the way to the bottom, office hours for this week have not been completed yet. So, excuse me, we still have the old live link. As soon as we finish office hours for today, I'm going to upload. I'm going to update the website so that you have the office hour links for Monday and Tuesday. And so I'll upload or I'll update the website every Tuesday and Thursday. So for those of you who can't join us live, you won't have to wait too long to get the links for the office hours. And let me make sure. Hello, Yvonne. So good to see you. So good to see you, Tolu. So good to see you, Ricky. We have a big contingent of people from Nigeria here today. Maybe I should give office hours in Igbo. What do you guys think? Wow, that's fantastic. Would it be possible, if Lapo, for you to give me maybe the title of your question so that way I can find it? Because I do want to do dynamic web pages, but I also want to make sure that we cover the course content. That's our main priority. So maybe if you gave me the title, I could find it. Ah, here we go. I've got it. For people who are interested, here is the question that Ifa Dolapu had. And what I would like you to do is if you could add your code. So if you click on the edit column, maybe you could add your code for exercise 5. And I'll be doing some other questions in the meantime. And then at the end of office hours, we'll be able to see your code. Abhishek has a question about graduating with honors. Remember that to graduate with honors, you need to have an average or a mean score of 0.9 or above across all of the mini projects. And so they say that on the, let's see here, the last 3 questions of the DW mini project, they have scores that are above zero point 0.9, so that's fine. And as long as with the other mini projects, you have across all of them, you have zero point 0.9 or above average, then you should be okay. All right, now I want to jump into 2 questions that I think are really important, which is one, how do I upload content to my Jupyter Hub if I want to work on it? And two, how do I download content from my Jupyter Hub if I want to work on it, or if I want to keep it after the course is over? So I'm going to answer those 2 questions first. I'm going to the home folder for the data course. And then I'm going to just open up the data course folder. Tutu asked me if I understand Igbo. I do not. But it would be pretty amazing if I did, right? That would be a big surprise. All right. So what I'm going to do, so let's see here. Bienzika, if you could restate your questions, I can add them to the list for today, just so I don't lose my spot. And I see Ravi's here too. That's fantastic. Welcome, welcome. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and you guys won't be able to see me doing this, so just trust me, is I'm creating a text file and I'm saving it to my desktop. In fact, what I could do is, give me 1 second, guys. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that. The next thing that I'm going to do, so let's say I have this file on my desktop and I want to upload it here to my Jupyter Hub. Well, what I can do is, the first thing is, let me make this text bigger. The first thing I'll do is I'll select the upload button. And once I press the upload button, it'll open up a file picker, which you guys won't be able to see, but trust me, it's there. And I will select my file. And I'll double click and hit OK. And then it'll give me the file name and then an option to upload it. And I'll click upload. And once I do that, it will upload it. And you can see here that my sample file, my sample text file, is now available on my Jupyter Hub. And if I click on it, it will open it in this text editor. You can see there's nothing special in here. I just put some space holder text in it. I can make some changes, or I can add more things to it. I can save it, and then I can close it. And if I want to delete it, and keep in mind that this is permanent, I would select the little checkbox next to it, and then click on the trash can icon. And it'll give me a warning, are you sure you want to do this? It's permanent, and I'll say yes. Now, that's how you upload things to your Jupyter Hub. So if somebody, for example, gave you an IPython notebook, a file that ended in IPYNB, you could also upload that as well. And if I wanted to download something, well, let's take a look. I'm going to open up the Python page, and I'm going to select the Pi Algorithms notebook. So I'll hit the check box right next to it, and then I'll select the download. And if I do that, you can see a little kind of beeping or a little something in the bottom left-hand side of my screen, and I can open it. But the point is that now I've downloaded it. So if you want to save these notebooks for reference later, you can do just that. So you can select multiple ones, and then you can, well, let's see here. Now you can't do it with multiple ones, so let's see how we would do this if we wanted to do it with multiple files. And to do that, we're actually going to work in the command line or the terminal. So we won't be using Python, we'll be using a language called Linux, which is actually the operating system for your Jupyter hubs. So what I'll do is I will select New, and instead of Python 3 Notebook, I'm going to say a new terminal. And I'll have this black screen in front of me. And the first thing that I'm going to do is type in PWD, which means present working directory. Which folder am I in? And it's going to say that I'm in home Jovian, which is actually the equivalent of this folder right here. So in fact, if I type in a comment, excuse me, if I type in my next command will be ls for list, you can see that I have 3 folders here: data course, lost and found, and scikit-learn data. Okay, great. Thank you for those questions, Bianzika. I'll be sure to get to them. And I see that a lot of you are asking whether you're going to have access to the Jupyter hubs after the course is over. The short answer is no. We have to, this is a lot of computer space. There are like 5,000 students in this course, or more than 5,000. And so we can't keep paying for all of that computer space in perpetuity. However, what I'm showing you now is how to use the command line to download that course material so that you can take it with you and keep studying on your own. So pay attention. All right. So I see that I have 3 folders in here after I did the ls command, and I'm interested in going into the data course folder. So I'm going to go cd for change directory, data course, and you can see that we've used 3 commands so far: pwd for present working directory, ls for list, and cd for change directory. Now that I'm in the data course folder, you can see that there is the end of my command line now has a little squiggly line / data course. So that tells me what folder I'm in. And from there, I'm actually going to go into the Python folder. So I'm going to go into this folder here. So I'll type cd again, and I'll do Python. So Dimitro says I should use the SCP, which is to which is to securely copy files. I'm going to do something a little bit different. And Innocent says they've never used Linux before, but it definitely looks a little bit like SQL. Yeah, absolutely. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ls for list, and you can see that there's a lot more stuff here. Now let me ask you guys a question. If I'm interested, and Ricky's right, it is a lot like MS-DOS. It looks very similar. If I'm interested in getting just the Python notebooks, what type of file should I be looking for? What extension should be on the end of that file? I'm seeing a lot of great answers. All right, you guys have got it. So now, so far we have three commands, or four commands. We have present working directory, list, and cd change directory. I'm going to add a new command here, and that command is called grep. And grep is a way to search through text in order to find certain patterns. So the way I'm going to use grep is, and this is another really interesting part of using Linux, is you can use commands together and you can chain them together using this pipe operator. You can almost think of it as like when we're doing Python, sometimes we use that dot and then we add another method after it. Well, this could be a similar kind of chaining. So I'm going to type in ls for list the files. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to type in grep. And since I'm interested in only those files that end in .ipynb, I'll add that on the end. And if I run this, you can see that now the only files that are being shown here are the notebooks. So basically what I have is I have a list of the course content that I'm interested in keeping. So I've used ls, I've used grep, and now what I want to do is I want to zip all these files together. What do you guys think the command is in Linux for zipping files or compressing files? I can definitely use tar, that's true. I can use gzip, that's true. What I'm going to use is I'm actually going to use a command called zip. So I'm going to take my ls, so that's my list. Exactly, Dimitro's right. Zip also exists. I'm going to use my grep command, I pi, nb, I'm going to then add another pipe and then add my zip command, and I'll give it the name of the file, I'll give it the name of the file name, the final file name, what I want my zipped file to look like. And I'll hit enter. Oh, excuse me, hold on. Let me think about this here for a second. Let me try it this way. Zip my file ls grep ipynb. Let's see here. Let me think about this. I love it. I love the way that you guys are coming up with awesome suggestions. I just need to remember how I did. It's been a long time since I've had to do this. Oof. Let's see here. Linux pass multiple files to zip. I know that I did this just the other day, so I'm sure. This is the fun of this is the fun of doing live coding. Let me see here. Let me see if this works. Script, and then I'm going to do. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, so let me just paste this into the text, into our chat. Okay, so What I have is I start with ls, and then I chain that to grep, and then I chain that to zip. And the way I put a placeholder, which is the dash arroba sign, and that will zip up all of my IPython notebook files. And then if I go to my picker, the file picker, I can select that single file, and clicking on download, I can download it. So that is how you would take all the content that you guys have looked at, all of the notebooks, and that's how you would download them using the command line. Okay, any questions about what we've seen so far? We've seen how to upload stuff to your Jupyter Hub, and we've also seen how to download your your IPython notebooks down from the Jupyter Hub. It's pretty cool, as Dimitri says. And so Shrishale's question is they want to know if they're just confirming that we can't perform a file input output operations on a file on your computer without uploading it to the hub first. Yes, that is correct. That is absolutely correct. What other questions can I answer? Ricky is curious about the videos. And if you're interested in the videos, what you can do is if you go to the landing page for our course, you can go to video downloads. And there you'll find all of the videos that are associated with this course. I hope that answers your question, Ricky. Let me know if you have a follow-up. And Tolu is right. I mean, you can zip, you don't need to only zip the IPython notebook files, but you may, I mean, that's sufficient enough. The other thing you can do is if you feel like you want a more, um, oh, let's see here. One second, Fidolpo, 1 second. The other thing you can do is when you download an individual notebook, you don't need to necessarily download it as an IPython notebook. You have several options. You can download it as a PDF. You can download it as a markdown file, which is basically a plain text file. So I often keep all of my notebooks as markdown for archiving purposes. Now, if a Dolapo asks that terms of the videos, will they always be available on our Google Drive? They're not always going to be available because as new classes start, we'll be moving different videos in and out of Google Drive. And let's see here. Ricky says that, well, will you have to download all the videos to the local machine? That's one option. The other option is you could save them on your own Google Drive account. You could save a copy. So that's another possibility. And then Demetra wants to know that if they've run the downloaded IPython notebook locally, will they have access to the same environment that's on the server? Give me 1 second and let me just take a quick look here. You would have to do a little bit of work to create the same environment. Let me get back to you on that. I'll get back to you on that particular issue. But the short answer is not currently, no. But what you would do is, yep, Shrishale is right. I would suggest that you download the Anaconda distribution. So I would go to anaconda.org, and then I would click on Download Anaconda. And that should give you all of the Python and a lot of the common packages that you'll need. And you can always update it later if you realize that you have a package that's missing. Bianzika says, Anaconda is heavy. It's true it is, but man, it sure makes life easy. Tutu says that if we keep the links, won't we be able to access them later on YouTube? As long as those links remain current, yes. If they change, though, you know, life takes many twists and turns. You won't be able to have access to them. So let's see here. I'm going to cross off uploading and downloading. Google Colab, if you don't want to use Anaconda, is another possibility. You could pip install everything if you feel more comfortable with pip. It really is up to you. Okay, I am going to look at Bianzika's question about probability and distributions. So I'm going to go all the way, I'm going to create a new page. Hold on. That didn't work. Okay. So the question is, when do we use a normal distribution and a probability of when do we use certain distributions in our data analysis? Let's put it that way. So Shrishale is asking what pip is, Maybe Bianzika, maybe you can answer. So a normal distribution, just so we all recall, just to jog everyone's memory, is going to be a distribution that is centered symmetrically around a mean. And it's going to look something like this, but not as ugly. It'll have a mean of, I'm very bad at writing Greek. It'll have a mean of mu. I love the idea of doing career advice. I think we might not have a chance to do dynamic websites, but we can do that tomorrow, and uh, we can talk about career advice today. Just because I want to make sure we give enough time to everything. So the first thing that we need to keep in mind is that a normal distribution is going to be symmetrical. It's going to be fat in the middle and thin or less thin at the extremes. And we know that if we look at the standard deviation, which we often write as this, as sigma, we know that if we go within one standard deviation either way of the mean, we're going to get 68% of all the observations in the population. If we go two standard deviations, we're going to get 95%. And if we go three standard deviations, we're going to get, what is it? It's like 99.7%, I think. Now the question is, when do we use a normal distribution? Well, you use a normal distribution when it's a safe assumption that the data you're looking at is distributed normally. Let's think about this. Let's think about it this way. If I am if I am drawing a histogram of a die, like I'm rolling a dice, and I have there's six values in my die. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now let's say I roll my die a million times. Do you guys think that the distribution, so let's see here, if this is going to be the, oh, hold on, let me reach around here. This will be the count. Do you think that I'll get some sort of distribution that looks like this, where it'll be centered between 3 and 4, and most of the values will be 3 or 4? Tolu says no. What do other folks think? Dimitri says no. Wahaj says no. So what is it going to look like then if it's not a normal distribution? So we know right there, okay, normal distribution is not going to work here. What is it going to look like? Dimitri says it's going to be parallel to x. So it's basically going to look like this. Because, and we call this a uniform distribution. A uniform distribution because it's uniform along the top. And the idea is that your chances of rolling one particular number out of a six-sided die are always 1 and 6, or excuse me, 1 out of 6. And so you're going to, over time, get the same number of ones, the same number of twos, the same number of threes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So like author says, you're going to get a uniform distribution. So in that case, it's not going to work. And so to answer the original question, you use a normal distribution, or you assume it's a normal distribution when the data that you're looking at looks normal. And it doesn't need to look perfect, but normal is what you are looking for. So if I'm looking at not dice, but maybe I'm looking at people's heights, adults' heights, and let's say that these are feet. Apologies for people who are using the metric system, but I'm probably going to get some sort of distribution that's going to look like this, where it's going to center around, I don't know, 5 feet 7 inches, something like that. And there'll be some very short people, there'll be some very tall people, but mostly there'll be some sort of uniform distribution. Well, then I might think that I can use a normal distribution. But with dice, it's not going to work. So what you need to do is you need to think a little bit about what the probability is and how those probabilities are going to be distributed across all of your values. And then when we talk about what p-value we use, the general standard in like social sciences is 0.05. So not zero point 0.5, but 0.05, which means that if you have your normal distribution, I wish I could draw a better normal distribution. If you have your normal distribution and you're thinking about zero point 0.5, you're talking about 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So you're really talking about the tail end here. And what you're saying is, if I get an observation that has this p-value of 0.05 or smaller, the chances of it actually belonging to this population is 5%, which suggests that maybe it belongs to a different population. So we looked at this yesterday when we were talking about the calorie counts in pizza slices. If you have a distribution around, say, 100 calories with a standard deviation of 10 calories, if you get a pizza that's like 125 calories, it is possible that it is the same kind of pizza that you're getting from that same pizzeria, but maybe it comes from another pizzeria, right? That's what it suggests. Now, it's not set in stone that you have to use 0.05. If you want to be really sure, you can have an even lower p-value. You can say 0.01. And if you know, you don't think it's that important to be sure, you just want to maybe suggest it more weakly, you could use a p-value of 0.1. And so generally speaking, you use a normal distribution when you have reason to think your data is distributed normally, and you use 0.05 as kind of a default, but you can change it depending on how certain you want to be before you reject your null hypothesis. Okay, now we only have a few minutes. We only have 9 minutes left, and I feel like I really want to do dynamic web pages, And I know Mauro isn't here today, and I know he really wanted to see it. So I'm going to wait on dynamic web pages, and I'll do that tomorrow. I promise, promise, promise. Okay? And instead, I'd like to, maybe I can give somebody was interested, I think it was Ricky, in career advice. So I'm sort of curious, does anyone have any job questions that maybe I could answer? Now, I'm not an expert in hiring, but maybe there's something I can do to help. Well, Hutch wants me to offer a course on probability and statistics. Whoosh, I don't know. That's a tall order. But there is a great course on probability which is open to everyone. Let's see here. Probability. Hold on, let me find it real quick. Let's see here. Penn State probability. There we go. This is it. Yes, I love this course. So this is a course that's offered by Penn State, which is a university in the US, and there's all sorts of great information on statistics, actually, mostly on probability, and then it also does a lot of statistics in those two courses. So I really recommend this course, and it's free, it's open, so it's a great place to start if you're interested in learning more. Okay, good. So Tolu says that they saw on the World Quant University site that they have a master's in financial engineering, which I will add here, and I'll also open up the website here. So this is a 2-year Master of Science course, and there is a lot of data science that you are going to see in it. For example, if we go down to the bottom and we look at some of the topics that are covered, Matplotlib, NumPy, SciPy, some of these are familiar to you, and they might be a good continuation of your data science work if you want to especially work in like the financial, um, in finance. I would recommend, however, that you take Unit 1 first, and then make sure you take Unit 2, the machine learning course, to prepare you for the master's in financial engineering. So it's definitely a data science kind of thing. Okay, so Wahaj has a really great question, which is better, a master's with coursework or a master's with a thesis, and which one is better for data science, a data science career? So this will vary by country, because in some countries, in order to get a thesis, you need to finish your coursework, and then you also need to complete a thesis. And there are some countries in Europe where that's still the case, although less and less. And then there are some master's degrees where all you need to do is, actually, I should say, probably in the US, there are also a lot of master degrees where you need to complete some sort of thesis. And also in the Middle East, I think, from when I was teaching in the Middle East. Now, some courses or some master's degrees, you don't need to do a thesis. You just need to complete all the coursework and all the exams. Maybe you have some sort of capstone project, but that's it. It's not There's not as much independent work, it's more coursework. And if the question is which is better for your career, it kind of depends. If you feel like you're going to go on and do a PhD, doing a thesis at the master's level is a good idea because it's going to give you an idea, it's going to give you a feeling about whether you're prepared to go from a master's thesis, which is small, to a PhD thesis, which is a lot bigger project. So if you want to go into academia, I would say do your degree, excuse me, do your thesis. And then if you're interested in going into the private sector, I don't think it makes a lot of difference, honestly, especially in data science, because there's such a demand for data scientists. They're just going to take you as long as you have the degree. Fingers crossed, I hope. Now, what I do think is important to have when you go out onto the job market is some sort of portfolio where you showcase the work that you are able to do. And that might be a thesis, or it might be a bunch of repositories that you have on your GitHub page. You might say, hey, I can work with time series data. Here's an example on my GitHub page. Hey, I can work with NumPy and SciPy. I can build a model, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what I would say. I would say that your thesis does not, if you want to go into a PhD, do your thesis. If you want to do something else, you can choose, but just make sure that you have some sort of portfolio to show possible employers. Let's see here. Hold on one second. So Wahaj wants to know that can they upload the project notebooks onto their GitHub accounts as part of a portfolio? My advice would be don't do that. One, because this is not your work, it is curriculum that we've put together. And so you're not showing your skills. So I would say you could maybe use our notebook as a model, but then go and find data sets that are interesting to you and then use those to build your work. And please don't post these things directly on GitHub because it's for people who are enrolled in these courses. Let's see here. I think I saw one question. The question is, where is the demand? The demand in data science is kind of everywhere. I can only talk about the US, but banking and finance, always there's a demand. There's a lot of demand in tech companies, right? Video game companies, and then also a really big growing sector in the US is healthcare. So between healthcare, tech, and finance, that's going to be the bulk of the jobs. And I would say the bulk of the jobs are in-person jobs. Remote jobs are much harder to find. But you might think about if you work at a job for a couple years, will they let you go remote after that? So you might be able to do the long game, play the long game. Okay, well, we are leaving. We're going to have to end. For those of you that are interested in joining the WhatsApp group, you can go to the our forum, and I believe you can just search for WhatsApp. It's not here, but it's somewhere in the forum. If you search for it, oh wait, if we go to unanswered, there we go. Yes, here is the link for the WhatsApp group. I will copy and paste it into the chat. And with that, it looks like we've come to the end of our office hours. For those of you who were tuning in just today to look at dynamic web pages, I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to do it, but I promise that I'll get to it tomorrow. And for those of you where you had questions which I wasn't able to answer today, you can post them in the forum or tune in tomorrow for office hours. Okay? So I hope everyone has a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I hope your data science projects are wonderful, and I will see you all very soon. So happy data science, and I'll see you all later.